Hi guys, my name is Gloria. In this channel, I talk about slow fashion to help you approach fashion in a more sustainable way. In today's video, I'm honored to partner up with The Green Tone for a Q&A about my take on sustainable fashion. The Green Tone is a company that offers solutions for European sustainable businesses to scale up in mainland China. I think this is a great opportunity to help spread the message about sustainable fashion, especially in China where there is a humongous market and each one of us can do our part to make an impact. Now let's get to the Q&A. I think sustainable fashion at this point is still a rather broad concept since there is no common definition for it. To me, at the brand level, it means taking initiatives to be open about the supply chain, limiting environmental footprint in the production process, for example, reducing energy and water usage, sourcing biodegradable fabrics, and recycling and reusing materials, and most importantly, paying workers fair wages. However, brands are not the only ones that are responsible. At the consumer level, we need to support brands that are doing a good job with these practices. We also need to limit consumption, wear the clothes we have for as long as we can, and buy vintage and secondhand. Sustainability requires both the brand and the consumer to work together. A key word that represents my idea of sustainable fashion is slow fashion, which I mention a lot in my channel. I'm only speaking from a consumer point of view here. The reason I choose the word slow fashion is that it's a way of living that's immediately attainable for all of us. Slow fashion is about being conscious and mindful when it comes to consumption. Maybe not everyone can afford buying from sustainable brands, but we can all afford to use what we already have in our closets for as long as we can, and only purchase items that can last us a long time. I think if we all make a small and simple change like this, it's going to have a great impact overall. I followed some YouTubers who advocate sustainable fashion a couple years ago, and that kind of planted the seed for me. It didn't really have a profound impact on me at the time, but I found myself slowly watching more and more of these videos. About a year ago, I decided to start my own channel, and I started researching sustainable fashion in more depth. I started reading articles online and searching for books on the subject. I happened to see that Elizabeth Klein, a pioneer in this field, was going to release her new book, The Conscious Closet. The book was released in August 2019. I got the book as soon as I was out and finished it in 4 days, with all of the bookmarks and underlines. I was like, I can't put it down. Tell me more. I gained a lot of knowledge from this book. I like it because it's full of practical tips that we as consumers can utilize right away. There are also some facts and figures, but what's the most intriguing is that it makes sustainable fashion approachable for anyone. And I think that's the most realistic way to bring change. I became aware of this just as I was doing more research on sustainable fashion. If I hadn't done that, I wouldn't have known how many negative impacts the fashion industry is having on the environment, let alone the issue with underpaying garment workers. Most people in my circle are not aware of this or just haven't paid enough attention to it. And I presume that a lot more people out there are not aware either. So I think it's important that we shed more light on this issue. I also see the issue from a psychological perspective. With the boom of social media, we are bombarded by influencers who wear new clothes every day. And this seems to create a pressure to keep up and wear new clothes all the time. This entire culture of chasing novelty and quantity over quality, obsessing over logos, and just constantly comparing yourself to others is problematic. It is not healthy and it is not normal. And the worst part is, some people actually can't afford to keep up, but they spend beyond their means because of the social pressure, whereas they could have invested into education and their savings. When I started my channel, I didn't want to contribute to this noise. If I have a voice, if I were to be seen, I want to use the opportunity for positive change. I want to present a more realistic way of dressing for regular people and show people that it could actually be fun to wear the same clothes over and over again by styling them differently. Reusing the clothes we already have is the simplest and most effective way of being sustainable. My basic principle for minimalist styling is to dress outside the box. I know some people may have a preconceived idea of what minimalism is. It could range from simply having a minimalist aesthetic to having the least amount of items possible. I think I'm a bit of both, and I never go to the extremes. Just to elaborate, I would choose clothes with clean designs that can go well with my character. That also means I won't choose my clothes based on whether they look minimalist or not. Instead, I choose my clothes based on whether I like them and whether I will wear them again and again. If we think about the goal of minimalism, it's to simplify our lives and only live with the things that bring us joy. It's not about creating a certain aesthetic. It's also not about having a competition on who has the least amount of stuff. I think we need to incorporate minimalism in a way that makes sense for ourselves. Otherwise, we will all look the same, and that's not very interesting. When I shop for clothes, I think about 4 things: quality, style, fit, and value. Quality is important because that means my clothes will last longer. Either I can wear them for a long time or someone else could take them over, and that's always better for the planet. Style is also important to me because the reality is that I will only wear clothes that suit me. If I buy something that doesn't suit me, it only sits in the back of my closet, and that would be a waste. Fit is essential because it's what determines whether your clothes look good on you or not. And if the clothes look good on me, I'm more likely to wear them on repeat, which means less consumption and being more environmentally friendly. Good value for money factors heavily into my decision on whether I want to buy a piece of clothing because I'm not going to overpay for a logo or a hype. I think buying secondhand is actually a great way to balance all that I just mentioned. You can get high quality items from good brands at a fraction of their price. Now, I always look at secondhand first when I shop. My favorite website is The Real Real. Most of my secondhand clothing are from there. There are a lot of sustainable or ethical brands out there these days, but it's really difficult for consumers to verify what we're being told. And according to Global Fashion Agenda, for a brand to be truly sustainable, it needs to satisfy 8 major criteria, including supply chain traceability, sustainable material mix, circular fashion system, respectful and secure work environment, and so on. Satisfying only 1 or 2 of these criteria is not enough. So if that's the case, then most sustainable brands are not truly sustainable. But I also believe that they have a lot of potential in being fully sustainable. So I would show support for brands that are actively making positive changes in order to achieve that. Personally, I use the Good On You app to guide me whenever I shop sustainable. Good On You does independent research on brands to rate their sustainability. You can see their ratings for labor practice, environmental friendliness, and treatment of animals. I think this is an easy start for consumers. As I've mentioned before, there are a few ways we can be more conscious consumers. The best and easiest way is to shop our own closet, which is restyling the clothes we already have. Whether our clothes are from sustainable brands or not, by wearing them for as long as we can, we could help prolong the life cycle of our clothes that would otherwise end up in the landfill. That also means we need to take good care of our clothes, which would increase our chances of reselling them if one day we no longer need them. Going forward, when we shop for clothes, consider buying secondhand because it encourages the reusing of clothing. It's better for the planet, and we can also get higher quality clothes with less money. I think it's truly a win-win. When we shop for new clothes, it would be meaningful if we support brands that are actively limiting their environmental footprints and paying their workers fair wages. I know this sounds a bit idealistic, but I truly believe that as long as we commit ourselves to caring more about the environment and the workers when we choose our clothes, we are moving into a good direction.